Ever wish you could just, like, sit down with someone like Marie Curie and pick her brain about radioactivity? Particularly tricky physics problem.
Yeah, like a direct line to the experts, right?
Right. Well, today's deep dive is all about unlocking that kind of access, but through AI.
We're talking about the acting as technique. It's like handing your AI a script and saying, okay, now become this expert.
We're getting all this from the Generative AI Professional Prompt Engineering Guide.
Which is a mouthful, but it's a great resource. Really digs into the how behind all this.
So how does it work? It sounds kind of like magic.
Not magic, no. Basically, these large language models, they're trained on tons and tons of text data, right? When you tell it to act as someone, you're focusing it on the right information within all that data.
Like giving it a mental map?
Exactly. It's understanding that how you phrase your request, it really changes the game in terms of the results.
So it's not just about asking question. It's about setting the scene for the AI to really become that expert.
Precisely. The guide actually has a cool example. Say you need to create a marketing plan for, let's say, a new plant-based burger.
Okay, getting hungry already.
Right. So instead of just saying make a plan, you tell the AI to act as the CEO of a successful plant-based food company.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Suddenly you're getting insights from someone who's already killing it in that world, not just a generic plan.
That's wild. Like a mini MBA in an AI prompt. But beyond the whole business side, could you use this to, I don't know, have a conversation with Einstein about his theories?
Absolutely. Imagine trying to grasp relativity, which can be, let's be honest, really tough to wrap your head around.
Yeah, no kidding.
You could say to the AI, act as Albert Einstein, but you're explaining relativity to like a 5-year-old.
And it would actually work.
The AI, using its knowledge of Einstein's work, his style, could break it down in a way that actually makes sense.
That's incredible. But doesn't it freak you out a little? Like having access to all these minds?
It's a little bit, yeah. But it's also a huge opportunity, and not just historical figures. Think a seasoned therapist, a world-renowned chef, even a fictional character. Different perspectives, different insights.
Okay, now you're talking my language.
Right.
Let's say I'm stuck on a plot point in a story. Could I use acting as to brainstorm with a character from my own book?
Totally. The guide even talks about this for writers. Imagine telling the AI to act as that cynical but brilliant sidekick from your novel, and then describing your problem.
That's so cool. It's like having a brainstorming partner who lives inside your computer.
Exactly. But there are, of course, things to watch out for. We can't just assume the AI is always going to be accurate or unbiased.
That's what I was thinking. It's not perfect.
Right. And one of the big things is something called AI hallucinations.
Okay, hallucinations. Now that sounds a little ominous, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of does, right? But it's not like the AI seeing things. It's more like when the AI generates something that's just plain wrong, factually incorrect.
So even with the persona and the instructions, it can still make stuff up.
Well, think about it. Remember all that data we talked about? Sometimes there are gaps, and the AI tries to fill them in, and sometimes it gets it wrong.
So it's not like intentionally lying.
More like an overeager storyteller. They get caught up in the excitement and add a detail that isn't quite right.
I get it. So how do we avoid getting fooled by these AI hallucinations, does the guide say?
It does. Specificity is key. The more detail you give in your prompts, the less room the AI has to, go off script.
Keep it on a tight leash.
Exactly. Don't just say, tell me a story. Say, tell me a story about a detective in 1940s New York who can talk to animals. See the difference.
Yeah, definitely. More detail, better results. What about fact-checking, though?
Can't forget that. The guide talks about cross-referencing, especially for important stuff like health or legal things. Think of the AI as a starting point.
Always good advice, even without AI, honestly. Okay, but we've talked about the downsides. What about the cool stuff? What professional applications did the guide highlight?
Oh, tons. Education, for one. Imagine a history class where instead of just reading about Abraham Lincoln, students could have a conversation with an AI acting as Lincoln.
Okay, that would make history way more interesting.
Right. And it's not just about making it fun, though it's definitely a plus. It's about deeper understanding. Imagine asking Marie Curie about her research firsthand, or getting Shakespeare explained by an AI who's read all his plays a million times.
That's amazing. Like a personal tutor for anything. What about other fields? Where else is this acting as taking off?
Customer service is a big one. What if, instead of those frustrating phone menus, you could just chat with an AI that's trained to be helpful and understanding?
Now that I can get behind. No more robots.
The cool thing is, These AIs can be trained on a company's entire knowledge base. They can answer more questions, even predict what you might need, give personalized advice, troubleshoot problems.
It sounds like acting as could be the key to making those interactions feel less robotic and a lot more human.
Exactly. And that's really the point. It's not just about AI being smarter, it's about AI being more human-centered, meeting our needs, bridging that gap between what we want and what AI can do.
Yeah, no more battling with those automated systems, please. So it sounds like we're really onto something here with acting as. It's like a whole new way to think about AI.
Totally. And honestly, we're just getting started. These models are going to keep getting better, more sophisticated. Who knows what we'll be able to do?
It's pretty exciting and a little bit daunting. But speaking of exploring, I want to make sure our listeners are ready to try this acting as thing themselves. So for those eager beavers out there, what's the best advice from the guide? How do we get the most out of this technique?
It boils down to this. Don't be afraid to play around. Seriously, try different personas, different prompts, see what happens.
So less about rigid rules, more about just like diving in and experimenting.
Exactly. It's about unlocking your own creativity, right? The AI is a tool, a partner. Let it help you explore new ideas.
Love that. Even with all this amazing tech, it's still about us being curious, using our imaginations.
100%. And that actually brings us to that part of the deep dive where we like to leave our listeners with something to think about.
That's right. Hit us with it. What's the question we should all be asking ourselves?
Here it is. If you could have anyone, real or fictional, past or present, as your own personal AI guide, who would it be? And what problem would you tackle together?
Now that's a question. Someone like a business genius, a historical figure, or maybe, like we were saying, even a character from your favorite book. So many possibilities.
It really shows the power of acting as. It's a reminder that when it comes to AI, the only limit is our own imagination.
And on that note, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. It's been fascinating to take this deep dive into acting as with you. Hopefully everyone listening feels empowered to go try this out.
Absolutely. Experiment, have fun, and see what incredible insights you can uncover.
Thanks for joining us, and until next time, happy prompting.